Have you ever been on a narrow trail and you've realized you've gone the wrong way, or there's a fallen over tree and you're gonna have to go a different way? And then you have to turn the bike around. And if you're new to off-road, often what happens is it's a struggle and it takes a lot of time. So in this video, I'm gonna lay out some of the best ways to turn your bike around on a narrow or skinny trail. So the first method I would use, this is the easiest method, is on the stand. So we lean the bike on the stand, we tilt the bike onto the front wheel, and we pivot the bike around. One tip that my friend Pete just reminded me of, if you're new to off-road, you probably don't want to be turning the bike with the bike facing off the cliff or the hill, because there's a lot more risk involved. So what we want to do is turn the bike around, if we have the option, with the side of the wall, because there's no danger there involved. So first thing we do, we put the stand down. Now we want to put pressure into the stand, into our hip, and into the front tire. So that helps lean the bike, and then we should just be able to shimmy the bike around 180. Let's see if it goes as smooth as I say. So into my hip, into the front wheel, and the bike just goes really nicely and easily. And now stand up and I'm ready to ride off. This will take a few times to get right and get the hang of it, but once you get the balance point correct, it's extremely easy, especially if you have a dual sport with a strong stand. I don't actually have a stand on my KTM, so I don't use that method. And if you have a general stand on your KTM, it is quite tricky because you can't put too much pressure on it and you'll break the stand. But in general, especially if you have a dual sport, this method is extremely easy, but you need to put the weight into the front tire, use the bike against your hip, and pivot the bike around. The second method to turn the bike around is called the drift method, or I just made that term up. So what we can do, we lean the bike over. It does help if you're tall, but small people can do it as well. You put your left leg down as a pivot point. The more you lean the bike and turn the bars, the easier it is to slide the rear wheel around. And now what we do is we drop the clutch, use a little bit of revs, and that helps spin the bike around. Again, if you are really short, this method will be extremely difficult. So one of the methods you can use if you're shorter or maybe a bit weaker and you struggle with this technique is you can stand off the bike and you can still use that method of slipping the clutch out and spinning the bike around. So for those shorter riders who don't have the confidence to put their inside leg down and lean the bike, maybe because the bike is too heavy, maybe because they struggle with the balance point, this technique can help you a lot. So we're stood off the bike, we're using our legs, and again, we're using our hip to support the weight of the bike. And it's the exact same technique with the clutch and the throttle to spin the bike around. Something you'll struggle with this method is if you drop the clutch too fast or if you rev the bike too aggressively, you may lose control of the bike. So it's going to take a few practice runs to get it right. But the more times you try, the easier it becomes. And just remember to use that clutch control to keep control of the bike. The next method we're going to use to turn the bike around is if there is a bank on the trail or a wall, we can actually ride our front wheel up the bank and then reverse back down it. So the way we do this is we turn, say the bank's on the right, we turn right, we ride up the bank, and then we use the rear brake and the clutch to control the bike reversing down the bank. Turn the bars, say to the left, and that will bring the bike back straight. So then we can carry on back down the trail we came. Another way to turn the bike around using the wall is you're still wheeling, but using the wall as a base. So you wheelie up onto the wall and then you slip the clutch and allow that bike to kind of shimmy its way into the right direction. Again, this involves a bit of clutch control, using the rear brake to make sure you don't flip the bike over backwards. But you can use the wall as kind of a safety net, so it kind of helps that front wheel stay up high. And using that clutch control will just help shimmy that bike around. Now, a more tricky method, the final method I'm going to give you, is the pivot turn. So what do we do with this? So the most important thing here is we give ourselves enough space to turn the bike around. So we want to start on the outside of the trail. We want to have the front wheel angled in a little bit, so we've already a little bit turned. And here it becomes about timing, suspension compression, and clutch control. So we need to time the suspension compression perfect so we have a controlled wheelie. If you can't wheelie, don't use this method and start practicing your wheelies and then this will become a bit easier. Now, how does the bike pivot 180 when we do a wheelie? So this is all in our leg. If we use our leg on the floor, that becomes our pivot point and helps the bike turn around it. A really important part of this process is doing a slow wheelie and getting the bike up slowly so we can control it with the clutch. If we just dump the clutch with a load of throttle, the bike's going to want to fly off down the trail and we're going to fall off the back of the bike, or we're going to struggle. So being able to lift the bike up slowly, using our leg and turning the bike around is really important. Okay, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out the video on screen now. Thank you.